guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So I hope everybody had a really awesome holiday. As you guys know, I wasn't around yesterday, had a lot of family stuff to tend to, traveling. We actually host Christmas Eve at our house, so it was a really busy couple days. Anyway, that being said, for everyone that was around and we were looking at the markets, we had that massive Santa Claus rally, and then we've had a little bit of a pullback now down to a $3,800, $3,700 Bitcoin. So I'm okay with that. It's to be expected. You're not going to go straight up for a week, without having some type of pullback, okay? That was to be expected. Now, before we get on, I just want to talk about two things super fast. The first thing is a member of the Crypto Zombies community actually came out and let me know that they have a book available on Amazon called Bullish on Bitcoin, 37 Strategies to Profit in the New Crypto Economy. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's totally free for the next 3 days. So if you want to download this, you can get it for free. And also, it's kind of aimed at the beginner investor, or even people that got wrecked, or lost a lot of money in 2018. So it could be a good book to just have maybe somebody that's getting into Bitcoin or crypto, new, check out, totally free. And the second thing I wanted to point out was somebody let me know, again, we had another scammer. It's so difficult to keep up with these guys, but look, this one right here, if you go down to this email, this is cryptozombietrading@gmail.com, which is not my email, okay? And basically, they're over here saying, I have an offer for you. You can invest $2,000, a minimum of $500. You get 30% on your investment. Yeah, that's not me, guys. I try my best to get these scammers out, but I will never ask you for any money. And if you ever want to get a hold of me directly, you can go to my email that's in my About Me, or just join the Crypto Zombies Telegram group. It's totally free. And you could just go on Telegram, and that's my actual handle, okay? So I just wanted to point that out because I don't want people getting scammed. That's ridiculous. Anyway, if we give this a quick refresh, we'll see what's going on. So we've pretty much stayed flat this morning. Bitcoin sitting around 3,700. XRP 36 cents, Ethereum $126. Now we lost... Well, let's see, actually. Let's actually have a look at what the market cap was over the past 7 days. I mean, we were sitting here at this peak. Everyone was all pumped, $145, and now we're down to 126. So we lost a little under $20 billion. It happened pretty fast, though, so that, that's what... But it's crypto, guys. It's crypto. Everything happens fast in crypto. Now, having a look at the biggest gainers of the day, we have Eternal token up 80%, Linky 12, Polymath almost 12, Holo, Ethereum, Basic, Bugya coin in there again, Tezos, DigixDAO, PundiX, and Bitcoin Gold. So let's talk about the fact that it's not just crypto and Bitcoin, but every major asset class has had a major fallback in 2018. So obviously crypto got hit pretty hard. We're not going to deny that one. However, if you look at here, this is basically what they call the asset class quilt of total returns. And this goes back all the way to 2008. And you can see right here that pretty much in 2018, almost everything is recording a loss right here. So, as you can see, according to these reports that came out, the activity dominating the close of the trading year was just a series of shorts on stocks, corporate bonds, commodities, government debt, and practically every other asset class you can think of, and crypto was not an exception. And Anthony Pompliano actually pointed out, and this was on December 4th, $755 billion had completely left the S&P 500, which is incredible. That's... I don't even know how many more. That's at least 5x what crypto is right now off the top of my head. So, CNN actually reported that the Bank of America had warned against this. They said there were 14 out of 19 signs of a bear market, and this was back in October. And you could see after that, it's pretty much, just gone down ever since. So they also had the head of U.S. rate strategy at BMO. And she says that all assets have underperformed in 2018. I'm sorry, it's a he. Because the Fed accelerated the process of tightening monetary policy with a two-pronged approach of both hiking rates and reducing the balance sheet. We continue to expect the Fed will hike next year until they break something. The reversal in equities is not the magnitude that has historically led the Fed reverse their policy, so there's still room to go. And as you can see right here, the only notable winning options in 2018 were some commodities like you have, natural gas, you have wheat, cocoa, oats, palladium, corn. That's really it. So it's not like really anybody had a great 2018, so it's not to be surprised that, crypto experienced something very similar. Now, obviously, a lot of people are saying, all right, 2018, we learned our lesson. Now it's time to build. So where are we going from here? Well, if you look at fintech crypto leader Henry Arslanian from PwC China and Hong Kong, he was on Bloomberg. He was talking about how he thinks these big players are going to be coming in. He says that even here in the U.S., there's some bipartisan initiatives to try to make the U.S. more competitive when it comes to crypto assets, referring to the Bitcoin bubble. You know, he basically said that, yeah, it's been a year-long correction, but we helped to get a lot of the noise out of the sector. I mean, we've been talking about all these scams, crappy projects, white paper, ICOs, right? And then he also talked about, you know, how stable coins and security tokens are going to be pretty big moving forward. But I wanted to kind of dive into, you know, how we got here, because you're seeing these predictions, you know, for example, from Rand Neuner, and he's talking about the stocks that are going down and how they've plummeted. And he says that they're probably going to convince fund managers to turn to Bitcoin. So he says that because the market volumes are up on Christmas could indicate that, you know, the technology is being wider accepted and has more of an appeal, you know, but realistically speaking, you have seen that a lot of these, you know, Wall Street tycoons, whatever you want to call them, that were looking to get in, unfortunately haven't. Okay, yes, we're pretty excited about Backed, although they've pretty much guaranteed got delayed again, right? Fidelity's on its way, NASDAQ as well, but some of these other guys have sort of stayed on the sidelines or just never really pulled the trigger, right? So some people familiar with Goldman Sachs' crypto business, they also had been saying they were looking to get involved, right? They had a crypto non-derivative fund, but unfortunately, now this is what they're saying, it's only attracted 20 clients. 20. It's not a lot of interest, guys. So that's a source coming from Bloomberg. In addition, you have Justin Smith, hired to head digital asset division at Goldman Sachs, revealed in November that regulators are unfortunately limiting their plans as well. You also have Morgan Stanley, okay? So this company was ready to launch their swaps tracking Bitcoin futures since early fall, but says that they haven't even received one single contract. And the firm also said that they're ready to launch their services, but they're just waiting for a sign of demand. So it seems like the demand is not as high as we had believed it was to be. Now, there are a lot of conspiracies about guys buying up over the counter, and we do know that this is happening. But they're saying as far as these traditional tools are concerned, they're not really having that interest, right? You also have Citigroup and Barclays have also experienced similar problems as well. So, you know, you got to take this as what's really happening. I mean, if these guys aren't interested, they're not interested. So I wanted to look into this article that came out by Andrew Romans. Now, he's a VC investor in crypto, all right? He's written two really successful books that a lot of people, you know, have looked into. And he goes on and writes why Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the entire crypto market are down in value. And he says the way that he sees it, and I actually agree with a lot of points in this, is that investors in 2017, and specifically in quarter four, wanted to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum for the sole purpose of exchanging it for ICOs. Now, we spoke about this, right? So guys were basically buying mostly Ethereum to get into these ICOs. They didn't care what price they bought in at, so they would just buy the next buy order, which pushed the price up and up and up and up and up. And why were they doing this? Well, they were doing this because they were only holding the crypto, namely Ethereum, just long enough to buy it, usually with dollars, most of the time, and then transfer it to an ICO. So they didn't care if they were buying Ethereum at $100 or $1,000 because they were just basically doing what you use XRP for, which is just for like quick, transfers, right? So that definitely spiked up the price. Then the startup companies that had completed their ICOs became whales, right? They had massive amounts of Ether, and they started to unload these tokens around December and January. So this was flipping the dynamic of the huge demand for Bitcoin, but mostly Ethereum back at the time. So as they began to sell off, the value of the Ether became a lot less. So it was the complete opposite of what was happening, whereas some people were buying in to get into the ICOs. Now the ICOs are liquidating, selling for whatever. They don't care about slippage. They don't care about what crashing the price. They're just selling so that they can pay for costs, pay employees, pay for funding, whatever it is that these guys are doing, right? So after the New Year hangover faded, as he words it, the startups needed to exchange their crypto for fiat in order to pay engineers, etc. Then it was a run on the bank panic, okay? So you had pressure from US regulations in Q3, Q4, and then this resulted in a slowing and almost pretty much a near halt of ICOs, right? I mean, you see no one wants to invest in ICOs anymore. So after that, ICOs stopped or even radically slowed. New token issuers began to accept fiat without the need to pass through Ethereum, which killed more demand and left only sellers and hodlers and no buyers in a bid-ask world as the market tanked. So in 2018, something else developed. It became clear that all of these funded ICOs weren't really diligenced that well by real tech experts, and a lot of them turned out to be pure crap, okay? Products that didn't work. They definitely overpromised and underdelivered. Some of them turned out to be scams. Some of them might have been good projects, but they just mismanaged their budget. This is all part to do with why we find ourselves where we are. So what is going to happen moving forward? That's the question everybody wants to know. What's going to happen in 2019? Well, what happens is all these weak startups eventually get flushed out, okay? And we're going to be left with some pretty good projects, hopefully, left over. So today, the consumer retail investors of the Southeast Asia around the world are no longer gambling and throwing their cash at the latest ICO pitch, right? So it's interesting because it used to be 20% institutional investors or VCs and then 80% retail, whereas now you're seeing it the other way around. In fact, a lot of these companies that are raising money, they're not even going to public rounds. Like the few companies out there that are doing ICOs, they're pretty much just keeping them private at this point. So we're also seeing a return to market valuations rather than, well, as this guy puts it, a team of high school dropouts seeking a 50 million or 100 million pre-money valuation without ever having met a payroll or accomplished any substance. So also, these raises were massive. Come on, guys, 50 million, 100 million, 300 million. I mean, projects in the real world that have been established for multiple years don't even have, IPOs of this magnitude. So obviously, the new companies being funded in 2019 and the ones that'll be listed in the upcoming years are going to be far better, most likely on average, than the 27 ones, resulting in a rebound in the market. So you're going to see experienced VC-backed entrepreneurs working on blockchain startups, which means the population of management teams will evolve beyond the original of just Bitcoin anarchists, right? You're seeing all different courses being offered in school, blockchain education, almost every week I see a new, academy or course being listed, right? So he goes on to say that basically, what we're going to see is a few killer start-offs hopefully take off, which will generate mass adoption. And, all it takes is one app, right? I mean, think about if you just have maybe a video game, like something like Angry Birds, right? But it's on the blockchain. That could make some adoption. I think blockchain gaming is going to be huge. He says he expects to see something else, maybe something that we've never thought about, or something like Skype, right? Or a video thing, or maybe a chat app, right? Maybe like the next Telegram or the next WeChat or something like that, right? He also goes on to conclude to say that it's imperative that all businesses move into the blockchain so that no party can tamper with the numbers of how many widgets were sold or who gets paid. And in his opinion, he thinks that at some point, all businesses, governments, and healthcare data will eventually be on the blockchain, and pretty soon it will be unacceptable without it to enter into a business agreement or trust any other party with your information, right? So once these businesses, transactions, or elections, or voting, or whatever's getting done on the blockchain, no one's going to be able to tamper with the data. All sides can trust each other. The big picture is here. However, the current price does not reflect it. So it looks like price got ahead of the tech, and that's basically what we've seen time and time and time again. Now, there was an article that came out called Crypto is Down, So Why Am I Smiling? Now, this is from somebody who's been in the space for a very long time. This is W. Scott Stornetta. He's the chief scientist at Eugen Partners, a blockchain investment firm, but he's also the co-author of How to Timestamp a Digital Document, which is a seminal work in cryptography that's actually cited 3 times in Satoshi Nakamoto's original Bitcoin white paper. He's actually been working with blockchain technology for 30 plus years. And I know you're saying, well, that's crazy. Bitcoin's only been around for a decade. Well, he actually puts it down here. You can see, he says, to be clear, he created a prototype of a blockchain. But anyway, long story short, let's get into this. Let's talk about what's going on. So he says, while as a community we celebrated the 10th anniversary of Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper this year, he says next year is actually a more important anniversary. Namely, 2019 will mark 30 years since Stuart Haber and I began working and contributing on a thread that would become known as blockchain. So he references the movie Jerry Maguire, show me the money, right?
What you gonna do, Jerry? Show me the money!
So he says, let me suggest 4 show me's. Follow these in 2012 and perhaps I can show you the investment money. So he says that we're going to need these things potentially to have more money come into the space. So the number 1 is the community, right? New blockchain efforts should begin with a community that shares a common interest and purpose. This is the fundamental process of the blockchain, a shared, immutable record that allows communities to achieve their collective hopes in a peer-to-peer, transparent, and efficient way. Well, I could definitely say that we have the community. There's definitely a community for sure, and within the community, there's smaller communities, and those little communities like to fight with each other, right? My coin's better than your coin, but I think ultimately we are one giant community, even though we like to fight. So I think community, we're doing all right. Show me the solution to today's problems. Okay, so successful blockchain efforts will not offer solutions in search of needs, but rather solve current pressing problems. So don't create a problem just to solve it. Solve an actual problem that we have right now. You guys ever see that like joke where, you know, the brick gets thrown through the window and the window breaks, the guy picks it up, and then, you know, attached to the brick is a note that says, you know, call this number for window repair. Okay, we don't need to be creating problems. We need to fixing problems that we have right now. So many blockchain enthusiasts, this year rallied against, you know, all these different projects, or against, you know, the evils of the current systems, the bankers and the greed and this and that. And they convinced themselves that because their blockchain-based solutions were different, you know, from the wrong answers, their solutions must necessarily be right. Well, that's not really how reality works. So history demonstrates that successful revolutionaries focus less on what they fight against and more on what solutions they propose. Have you guys ever heard the saying, you know, losers focus on winners? Winners focus on winning. I think I said it backwards, but that's still the point. The best visionaries have incremental, largely self-sustaining plans that grow over time to achieve radically improved results. So in 2019, efforts that fit this near term and then long-term dynamic will be well positioned, and these networks will scale. So finally, we have 2 more to go. Show me the incentives. So successful incentives and related governance and mechanisms avoid the kind of behavior demonstrated this past year, and he uses the hard fork of Bitcoin Cash. So there needs to be an incentive. Why should I hold this, right? Why should I hold on to this crypto? What a lot of these cryptos that came out, a lot of these tokens, there was really no incentive to hold them outside of just speculation. So fundamentally, decentralized communities require incentives for its community members to hold and validate tamper-evident records, making them collectively immutable, right? So that's just another thing I wanted to talk about. You know, it makes sense that one must ensure the differential equation for reward redistributes tokens along the gradients of value creation and long-term stability. So, you know, things like proof of work, proof of stake, delegated, whatever. And some of them just don't have really the incentive, which is why we see a lot of people dump them. And then finally, he says flexibility, not rigid orthodoxy. You know, Satoshi was legitimately concerned that governments might want to shut down competitors to their fiat currencies. He invoked massive computational redundancy as part of decentralization. So more generally, an inappropriate focus on fighting the last war is sympathetic of leaders unwilling to change even as conditions evolve. Now, this is something that some people just in general life have an issue with, right? Some people can't admit that they're wrong. And we need to learn to do that, okay? Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes, you know, everyone is wrong, okay? And the thing is that we as a community need to learn from these mistakes, whether it be Vitalik Buterin, whether it be Satoshi Nakamoto, whether it be Crypto Zombie, or whether it be whoever it is watching this, right? We need to look back and learn from our mistakes and understand that we're not going to get where we're trying to go by being stubborn and butting heads and pointing fingers, you know, I don't know. So that's basically what I want to say. So to realize the promise of a fairer, more transparent peer-to-peer world, we must put community first, focus on solving present-day problems, continue to refine incentives and governments, and respond with flexibility as needs and circumstances change. I know, so much to talk about today, but this is what happens when I take a day off, right? We have longer videos the next day. You know, I also want to say one other thing. You know, the CSO of CoinShares, you know, they said, I think we've gone through this orgy of unfettered capitalism, and the space has become very tone deaf. It's become very illogical, and frankly, it's become unproductive. We've thrown good money after bad. I'm excited about a period of depressed prices where we can focus on really building Now we need to bring some rationality, pragmatism, and risk management to the crypto asset space. And I think that's what we're going to see moving forward. And ironically enough, guys, I just wanted to lighten up the mood here. Bitcoin died 90 times in just 2018. If you go to Bitcoin obituaries, right? So they kind of started putting them together, right? Bitcoin is worthless. It's entered a death spiral. Bitcoin is a dead man walking. Teenage crypto millionaire Eric Finman says Bitcoin is pretty much dead. Bitcoin price will crash to zero, says Bitcoin Cash founder Calvin Ayre. And as we could see, Bitcoin has still survived, guys. So moving on, what are some of the other things that we could see moving forward? Well, some other stuff that people aren't really talking about is you do have Mimblewimble. Okay, it's a technology that a lot of people have been looking into. You have Wasabi Wallet, a privacy-focused Bitcoin wallet with, that's coming out as well. You have Ethereum may get its own take on confidential transactions courtesy of Aztec Protocol. Stable coins could get privacy too with ZK DAI. So these are just some things, as you can see right here. I mean, this is a really great example to look at how the ICO market has just completely taken a nosedive. I mean, look at this. In February, we were getting, this much, and then boom, all the way down. And this is in the millions, by the way. So this is, 2 point whatever. I don't know. I can't do the math. But anyway, so yeah, STOs are going to become big as well. You're also going to see crypto debt markets and credit networks. They look like they're on point. Projects like Dharma Protocol, GEO Protocol, Nexo, MakerDAO, okay, these as well. And obviously we're going to see NFTs. And don't forget tokenization of not only real world things like land and stuff, but also you have artificial intelligence and things like Decentraland, and they're launching the virtual world like Ready Player One. And I don't know. It's just crazy to think of all the things that they're going to have going moving forward, guys. So also, we have this article that says new evidence suggests Tether does not have the dollar reserves it claims. You guys want to skip this one? I'm tired of reading about Tether. I don't really care about Tether. Let's move on to the next one. So let's talk about some coin news. So we have Arthur Hayes. He recently came out in an interview, and he says that the ICO market is dead. Okay, well, we probably could have told you that. But he goes on to say that he doesn't think it's dead forever. He thinks that once the price begins to rally back up, everyone's going to totally forget about what happened, and we're all just going to get crazy exuberant again, start buying into ICOs. He says he could see this in, 12 to 18 months out, and when that does happen, he sees the price of Ethereum skyrocketing once again, going back into that cycle that we were talking about where people just buy in for the ICOs and they don't care, right? So he also talks about you're going to see a lot of stable coins, security tokens, yada, yada. We've heard about this. And he thinks that Bitcoin is going to kind of bounce somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000 pretty much throughout the whole course of this year. Personally, I think it would definitely take a pretty large catalyst to catapult us over that $20,000 all-time high. I don't think we're going to be staying in the low lows. Personally, I do think we can touch lower. In fact, that's why I've been holding some fiat in reserve. You guys know I spoke about that in my other video. And what I was saying was I was looking to capitalize on some of those altcoin profits to then put back into Bitcoin, because obviously you saw the altcoins got hit massively, but they also tend to spring back faster. Although the end game, I don't know about you personally, I don't know, but for me, it's to own as much Bitcoin as possible. I'm curious though, what is your end goal? What are you trying to do in crypto? Are you just staying in an altcoin, just hodling? Are you day trading? Are you tethering? Are you in a stable coin? What's everybody doing right now? I mean, for me, I'm just kind of holding what I have. I'm not selling my Bitcoin, but I'm just waiting for like an opportunity to get some cheap altcoins that hopefully can pump, and then I could buy more Bitcoin. But that's just what I'm doing. Don't do what I'm doing. Do whatever feels comfortable for you guys. But also talking about Ethereum, we have the Raiden Network's alpha version is now live on the Ethereum mainnet. Raiden, if you don't know, it's a second layer solution, which is going to dramatically increase Ethereum scalability. So with Red Eyes, the first version of Raiden Network, it's been successfully deployed on the Ethereum mainnet. The goal of the release is to have the smart contracts and the core protocol battle tested and getting ready for the mainnet. Now we also have Vitalik. You know how he gets on Twitter, guys. He's, they're having an argument over proof of work, proof of stake, and somebody asks him, well, what do you think about Bitcoin SV? And he says, yeah, no, I have my disagreements with the Bitcoin roadmap, proof of work, etc., but they're doing something that's genuinely pretty cool tech. And then he goes on to say that Bitcoin SV is pure dumpster fire. So leave it to Vitalik to have an opinion. Now let's talk about some other cryptocurrency news. We have 2 more crypto exchanges that have followed Binance. So they've added XRP as a base asset. You have Australia's BTC EXA and India's Coin DCX. Both say that they're expanding the number of coins paired with XRP. Whether or not you're an XRP fan, I think this is great for crypto, decoupling from Bitcoin. This is really what we need moving forward. Also talking about Aeternity, they've released their implementation of Roma, which is the first release, and this is aimed at the platform's technical community and allows early adopters and miners and developers to address bugs, very similar to kind of what's going on right now with Raiden. So for doing so, you actually get rewarded in Eternity's token. So given that the network is only in its initial phase, they do warn everybody, be careful, there could be bugs. So when you're transferring tokens, don't transfer massive amounts right now until we're sure that all of these contracts are working. Also, Travala, which is the, you can basically travel booking using cryptos. They've recently added EOS. They also, in Tron news, Tron has hit more than 1 million users addressed just 6 months after leaving Ethereum network. So this is really awesome news for Tron. As you guys can see, I'm trying to just get the coin news out super quick. I know you guys are getting antsy. Hardware wallet, Elipal now supports XLM. Stellar Lumens, okay? The wallet is designed to perform just like Ledger or Trezor hardware wallet in a smartphone-like package. So I'm not familiar with this one, but for those of you who use that, that is pretty cool as well. I also want to talk about SIRIN Labs. Now, there was a lot of stuff going on with SIRIN Labs. Hold on, this is asking me if I want to update. Remind me tomorrow. Love when it asks me to do an update live, right? So basically, I'm going to go through this really quick. I don't want to harp on it, but a lot of people were worried that SIRIN Labs, they raised $158 million in their ICO, and there were these rumors sort of going around saying that the company was going to not focus on their phones and just on the software, and investors were kind of a little pissed off about this. Well, it looks like that rumor's been debunked. They actually went on to say, no, we're still focusing on the phones. In fact, they said they're doing quite well with their phones. They revealed that the distribution has committed to 160,000 units of the phones, though they only need to sell about half to be profitable. So that's really, really good news. But they did say that they're going to still focus on software, okay? So they're going to be focusing on both because they do want to have their own phones, but they also want to allow the OS to be used in other phones as well. In fact, it's pretty cool. They broke down the technical details, tech specs of the comparison Finny to the HTC Exodus. For the most part, they're relatively the same. A few different things I noticed was on the rear camera, they have an autofocus, a laser autofocus. As far as the hardware wallet, it's software on the HTC, but it's actual real cold storage on Finny. And then as far as tokens that it supports, you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, ERC20, 25 tokens, and ERC721 for HTC. Whereas currently on Finny, they're only covering ERC721s, which are basically like tradable, non-fungible tokens. So that's definitely something to just keep in mind moving forward. Now, I also wanted to talk about super quick, we had Bitmain laying off their Bitcoin Cash developer team, and it looks like Huobi is actually set to lay off some staff as well. That's unfortunate, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear more of this, basically coming out from the space. Now, talking about some good news moving forward, you have Andrew Bustamante. He's a former CIA intelligence officer, and he was talking about blockchain. Now, this was on Reddit. And somebody asked, what do you think is the biggest threat to American national security in the coming years? To which he replied, blockchain technology. No joke, super powerful stuff. And the first one to figure out how to hack it, manipulate it, or bring it down wins. So, while the ex-CIA official did not further elaborate on his remarks, he acknowledged one other Redditor's response who asked for clarification in regards to blockchain versus developments in quantum computing, to which he responded, fair point. So obviously we know that quantum computing is something that could potentially be a threat to blockchain. However, right now we don't believe it's strong enough to be an issue, but that is something for a whole nother video and a whole nother topic that I would definitely like to dive into on the channel. Also, before we get out of here, I have 3 more things super fast. Bank of America filed yet another patent. This one relates to ATMs. So the patent proposes to utilize a blockchain distributed database for record keeping of cash transactions between 2 financial entities USDT. So as you can see down here, an ATM operator would be responsible for restocking the automated teller machine rather than a particular financial institution. So yeah, we can go into this article, but essentially it's just more blockchain patents coming out of these guys, this time with ATMs. One pretty positive thing I wanted to talk about before we go is that 15.8% of people in the US are now apparently utilizing cryptocurrencies for remittances. So you can see right here, there was a study that was done. It talks about the countries that most people are sending it to, with Mexico, China, and India being the top three. Scrolling down here, you can see Clover broke it down, and they said that 15.8% are roughly using cryptocurrencies, but unfortunately, as we come down to this overall, you see that we still have 84.2% of people still not using crypto for remittances. So we have a long way to go. But, we're making strides. And before we go, guys, I just have to leave this one article here. I'm not going to go into it, but you cannot make this stuff up. This is from Motherboard, and it says you can mine 1 Bitcoin per month if you harvested the body heat from 44,000 people. Sure, so let's just go get 44,000 people, put them all together in a matrix-like machine, and we can get 1 Bitcoin per month. So yeah, look into this. They got videos and everything else. You can't make that stuff up. Really, really crazy, guys. So that being said, I wanted to say thank you so much for everyone that keeps liking, subscribing, commenting, coming back to the channel, joining the Crypto Zombie Telegram group, signing up for the blockchain brief, just saying hello. Just a simple hello is enough to make my day, guys. I know today was a longer video than usual, but unfortunately, when I don't make videos the day before, I tend to get really behind on all of this. So hopefully you found value out of this. If you did, I'm glad. And if you didn't, well, guys, I make videos every single day, so there'll always be something else. And that being said, I want to say you're awesome. Let's get going. Back to reality. Holiday season's over. Now we are going to focus on crypto and blockchain and moving forward to the new year of 2019, which I firmly believe is going to be a massively successful year for crypto and blockchain. And if you're watching this video right now, consider yourself one of the lucky individuals to be involved in this amazing revolution so early on. That about does it for me, guys. I've rambled on enough. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.